let's add a new class to our projects. And we may call this a new class a console application because we're going to print out something to the console to really implement some application. So let's go to our project week number 1 and then expand source. You can see currently we only got hello world, right? So now right click on the source and then say new, and then you want to say class, right? We want to create a new class. And then we're going to have a name for the class. Let's call that maybe circle app. And then let's say 1, because I'm going to show you 2 versions, version 1 and version 2. Let's call 1. And then we're just going to select that we're going to include the main method over here. In case you forgot to click on this, you can still actually type it out. I'm going to show you. Okay, let's say you forgot. Okay, and then finish. Okay, so that's our circle app 1 over here. And then we can start putting the so-called comments for your code. You really want to document your code as much as possible. So somebody else who is going to take over your job, or somebody else is going to work together with you, not for this course, but later, for your Java development, they can actually look at the comments. Okay, so now there are 2 ways to put comments. You can put a multi-line comments. I can say / and then a star, right? And then hit enter. So now you can start putting as many lines of comment as you like. So these lines of comments will not be executed. It's only for human beings to actually read. So I can say this is version 1 of a console application. We will prompt the user of radius value of 2. Let me just write down exactly what we want to do, of 2 circles. The application will output the areas of the 2 input circles, right? We're going to calculate the areas of 2 circles, in which case you're going to need the radius for each one of them. Right, so that's our comments. Okay, that's one way to do it. You can also do another comments, like a single line. You can say the main method over here. The main method is really the entry point of execution, which means we're going to start the execution of the code from here. Entry point of execution. Okay, so now let's type in the main method just in case you forgot to choose it. So public static void main and also string square brackets. So by the way, this means array, but don't worry about it. And for now, you don't really have to know exactly what this means. It's just a main method. Okay, that's why I said always when you create a console application, you just choose that box over there to say to generate the main method. In case you forgot, you can just copy and paste. Okay. All right. So now we can say, so starting the execution of the application, right? We're going to start from here, right? Notice that I'm really trying to comment my code as much as possible, either a single line or maybe multiple lines, either way. All right, let's say we want to, okay, so this is some template I want to show to you. We want to read from the keyboard, so we're going to say scanner, so type scanner and then control space, and then it's going to show you the menu option here. We're going to choose the scanner from the Java.utilities library. Click on that. You can see what that does is, in line number 1, it's saying that we are using this particular library. So that's how you use it. Just make sure you type scanner, control space, and choose it so that you will get an import statement over here. If you don't have this import statements, then your code wouldn't compile. Okay. Scanner input is assigned to new scanner. Okay, and then we're gonna say system.int over here. Okay, let me put some comments over here. System.int denotes the standard input, i.e. the keyboard. Since like made some time, okay, that's good. All right, and then always at the end, you should really put input.close. And that can get rid of the warning. There used to be a yellow underline, but now once you say input.close, then you can actually get rid of it. All right, so now I would say what I have typed so far, the main method and also the creation of some input to be read from the keyboard and also the closure of the input. So these are what you can take for granted just for now in order for you to build console application. whatever that goes inside will be what we are going to show you how you can do programs in Java. So you don't need to memorize anything. So I'll just keep that as a reference point. Whenever if you're asked to build a console application, either for your own practice or for lab assignment or for the test, that's something you can copy and paste. That's okay. Okay, start the actual application code here. And then here I can say, this is the end of the application code. So we're going to do something in the middle, right? And by the way, you can double click on the tab over here, so it's maximized, right? That shows you more space. All right, so now let's see how we can do it. We're going to do several steps. Okay, we can say step 1, prompt the user for, prompt the user for the radius of the first circle, right? We're gonna say system.out print line. In case you're really tired of doing this, you can do the following: sysout, and then enter. That's gonna give you system.out print line, right? Sysout, okay. And then we can say enter the radius of the first circle. That's gonna prompt the user, right? You can execute the program right away. What that will do is it's going to say enter the radius of the first circle. So now, in order for me to, if you now do the keyboard over here, I cannot type anything, right? I want to fit in some input to the program. How can I do it? Okay, again, double click. If you double click on the tab, you're gonna go back to the layout, right? Like this, but let me just go back to maximize view. All right, so now what I want to do is I want to read in the input. Let me just do the program very quickly, and then I will explain to you line by line exactly what's going to happen. So what we're going to do is declare declare a variable to store the user input. Okay, so how do we do declaration? Give a type. You're going to say, for example, double for floating point, like a 23.6. Okay, double, and then we're going to say radius is going to be for the first user. We're going to give a radius 1, and we're expecting radius 2 later. Is assigned to, and we're going to read some input from the user. The right hand side, you can see the equal sign here is for variable assignments, right? If you can refer to your weekly lecture, your instructor will actually teach you more about the syntax. So we're going to say input. Remember, we declare input over here. So now you got several different methods you can use. Now, if I want to read a number with a floating point, like with a decimal part, I can say input dot next double. That's how I read a number. It's a very typical. What if I want to read an integer? You can say input dot next int. You can see there's another next int option over here, just in case, right? Let's stick to next double over here. So that's the first radius I want to read in. Okay. So now once I get this, I want to calculate the area. I can declare another variable. I can say double the area for the first circle. I say area 1. So how do we calculate the area? Remember, it's pi r squared. It's going to be, let me just say 3.14. That's the pi, and then multiply by the square of the radius. So radius 1 multiplied by radius 1 over here. Right? Okay, just make sure you don't really have any typo. Okay, by the way, you can see it's very useful to see in the Eclipse. If you look, if you click on radius 1 over here, you can see they actually got either orange highlight or the gray highlight. The orange highlight is where the variable was first declared, and then all the gray highlights are where the declared variable is used. You always should declare the variable like a radius 1 before you try to use it. Okay. Okay, so after this, we already got a result that we need. So now we can output back to the user. So now we can say, okay, sysout. Once you type sysout, you can say control space. It's going to complete the system.out.print line for you. And then I can say area of circle is, and then so this is so-called a string literal. So this will be printed out verbatim. And then we just want to concatenate it. We want to say this followed by another value. So this will be area 1. Okay, make sure you type it out correctly. Okay, so now that's it. So now let's see. If I launch the program again, over here, enter the radius of the first circle. Maybe I'll say 23.4. So what that will do is it's going to store 23.4 inside radius 1 over here, and then it's actually going to also to say to calculate accordingly, right? 23 point whatever value that's going to be entered. Okay, so now 23.4. Once I enter that, I can once I enter the value, I can hit enter, and then it's going to say the area of circle is this particular number. You can double check the value is actually correct. However, it's quite ugly, right? It's actually got too many decimal points, too many numbers after the decimal point. We would like to prettify it. So how can we do it? Very simple trick. You can say we can say something like we only want to print up to two digits after the decimal point. How can we do it? Let me show you. It's a very practical tip to know. So now I got area number 1. I want to prettify it. So I can say string area 1 S, standing for its string value. It's assigned to. I'm going to prettify it. So this is what you should really write. So again, that's you don't need to memorize it, but you should know where to find the reference for that. You can say string capitalize S dot format. Over here, I'm going to put to say just gonna type this out verbatim. Percentage sign dot 2 floating points, and then the floating point number I want to prettify will be area 1. Okay, I put area 1 over here. So now here, rather than putting area 1, I'm going to put its prettified version S. All right, I'm just referring to the variable. So now if I tried it out once more, let me say 23.4, and then you can see it's prettified. So it's only up to 2 digits after the decimal point. All right, hopefully that makes sense to you. So now so far we're able to calculate the very first circle. And now let me try to do it. Another one. We want to calculate the area for a second circle, right? Pretty much I can really do where I can just copy and paste this particular part over here, right? So we can also make the documentation better. So you can actually say over here, we say step number 1. Step number 2 over here is to read a floating point number from the user. And then step number 3, compute the area of the input circle accordingly, depending on what the user typed to you. So they can say 23.4 from the keyboard, or can say any arbitrary number, in which case radius 1 will be assigned, and also it will be calculated accordingly. Okay, so and then we got step number 4. Step number 4 over here, we want to prettify it. Let's not worry about it. It's part of the computation. And then finally, you got step number 4 over here. You simply say output the result back to the user. So these are the very typical pattern for a console application. Stage number 1, you simply prompt the user for some input. Stage number 2, you read the input from the user. Stage number 3, you will try to compute whatever result you will need. And then after so this part here will be as long as needed. And then step number 4, we're going to actually output the result back to the user. So these are the 4 typical stages for any console application. Hopefully you can learn that. All right, so now if we want to calculate the second circle, right? So now you can do the multi-line comments over here. I can say calculate the first circle, right? Now I can simply just copy and paste the code, because in order for me to calculate the second circle, the code will be very similar. So to save some typing, I just need to do some renaming appropriately. Okay, let me simply just copy that. Right click and say copy, and then let's go here and then right click and then we say paste over here. Okay, so notice one thing here. You can see we got some errors. Let me go back here, which is not good. You can see we got a red cross over here. We got red crosses in the current class, and also you can see under the problems over here, you also got errors. It shows 3 errors over here. However, somehow there we go. Okay, sometimes it takes some time to really refresh the list. You can see we got 3 errors over here. Actually, they are very informative. Oftentimes, you can see the first one. You got some duplicate local variable area 1, duplicate variable area 1s, and duplicate variable radius 1. So this is a common mistake. You cannot use the same name for the variable. You cannot. That is a common mistake. All right, let's go back there. Let's fix it. Also, let's fix every time you do any copy and paste, make sure you update the reference like a comments and also variable names accordingly. So calculate the second circle, and then the second circle, and then the second circle, and then so this will be radius 2. All right. So we're gonna read just another console input from the another keyboard input from the user. And then area 2, and also notice that we want to fix this, right? If you say radius 1, it's going to be a logical error because now you're supposed to calculate the rate using radius 2 rather than 1. So you're gonna say radius 2 over here, and also area let's say 2s, and also area 2. All right. And then we're also going to say area 2s over here. Okay, so that's how you create just another block of code by copy and paste. Okay, it's just a console application which will calculate 2 circles one at a time. So now let's launch the console application. So now enter the radius for the first circle, 23.4. Okay, so that's what we got over here. Enter for the second circle. Let me use a different number, 34.78, for example. It's going to be just another number here. You can double check the math. I believe that's correct. Also, you can see it's prettified into only 2 digits after the decimal point. All right, so the program is now working. Let me explain very briefly about the structure of this console application. Let's now switch to the notes. So this is the class that we have just developed, the Circle App 1. Okay, you can see Circle App 1 over here. And then let me highlight the ones you can simply take for granted. You don't need to memorize. So we got the main method over here, and also we got the initialization of the scanner for standard input, and also we got input at close over here. Okay, and these lines are something that you can always refer to. You don't need to memorize. And notice that a very special property for a console application is you want to print to the console. That's why you see so many systems that are the print line. For example, you want to prompt the user, and also you want to feedback back to the user. You want to read from the prompt user for something, and also you want to read something from the user. So that's about the output. What about the input? For the input, you can see that we simply say once we declare the scanner, you can see the scanner is actually input over here. You can see, right? Let me just write a little bit smaller. So you can see the input is actually over here. And now you can actually say input the next double over here. And also you can say input the next double. You can use it to really say next double, next int, or next line. Okay, that's what you can do. Let's now talk about something that's more fundamental to your Java programming to learn. So let's take a look at different parts over here. For example, if you look at the double here, okay, the double here, and the double here, the string here, and also double here, and the string here. So these are so-called data types. Okay, your instructor will discuss more about these constructs over here. So here, all these, the orange one, they're so-called data types. Data types are actually for declaring variables. And what data types do we have in Java? So let me just enumerate them very quickly. The common ones, you got integer, you got double, also you got Boolean, also you got character, and also you got string. So you can think about what you put over here instead of double or string, you can put other data types as well. We'll see more in the lecture and in the later video. Okay, that's about the data types. And also take a look at, let's say over here, you got radius 1, you got area 1, area 1s, radius 2, area 2, and also area 2s. The blue one over here are so-called the names of variables that you want to declare. So let me just choose one of them, and then let me put them over here. So these are the names of variables. Whenever you want to declare some variable to hold, like a placeholder for values, you have to declare them. Number one, you want to suggest what type it is. So data, it would be important to say data type and also for the names of the variable. So these are the two necessary parts. And then we got over here the assignment operator. You can see the single equal over here, single equal over here. So this is the assignment operator. Assignment operator for changing or initializing the values for variable. Assignments operators. Okay, finally, I would like to mention, let me choose a color I haven't used so far. What about simply just purple? Okay, so now I want you to look at the right hand side for the assignment operator. You can see, let me just make it a little bit smaller. You can see this one here. You can see 3.14, this is a formula, and also this is to prettify the string. And also similar, you got this, and also you got this. So this is so-called the source of the assignments. So let me use purple over here to explain. So these are the source of assignments. Assignment is really meant to really change the values of the variable. For example, if I want to initialize the radius 1 to be whatever source that comes from the keyboard, so that's how I write it, right? So the right hand side of the assignments can be arbitrarily complicated, so you can refer to your lecture notes to see exactly what they can be. Right? It's a very quick walkthrough of the program, but you definitely can learn more systematic details later in the lecture. One more detail I would like to mention, you can see we got different lines of code. You can see we got line number 1, line number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. What's going to happen is we call this the entry point of execution. So the main method over here is really the entry point of execution, entry point. Meaning that at the runtime, once you launch the program, it's going to actually go sequentially, line by line. It's going to execute this line. After that, it's going to execute this line, and this line, etc. So this will be very important for you to know in order to later trace your code for debugging purpose. That's something we'll go into a little bit later. All right, so that's about a very quick walkthrough of this particular console application. If you want to build a slightly more complicated one, it's always going to be following the 4 stages, right? Step number 1, 2, 3, 4, as I explained previously.